The U.S. Dauntless floated silently through the darkness of deep space. The year was 2187, and humanity had finally built their first true deep space vessel. Captain John Mercer stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen as stars streaked past. "We're approaching the edge of the Orion Arm, Captain," said Navigation Officer Frank Wilson. His fingers danced across the glowing controls. Captain Mercer nodded, slow to half speed. "Let's be careful out here." The Dauntless was humanity's pride. Not a warship, but an explorer. Its mission was simple: reach further into the galaxy than any human had before. The crew of 50 was the best Earth had to offer, selected from every nation and background. Lisa Bradford, the communications officer, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual signals ahead." "What kind of signals?" Mercer asked, walking to her station. "Unknown, sir. Definitely not natural, and not matching any human patterns." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. "First contact." "Battle stations," ordered Mercer. "Defensive posture only. We're explorers, not fighters." The Dauntless continued forward, and soon 3 sleek, crimson vessels appeared on their sensors. They were smaller than the human ship, but moved with incredible precision. "Open all communication channels," said Mercer. "Broadcast our first contact package." Lisa sent the carefully prepared messages: mathematical sequences, simple images, and peaceful greetings in all Earth languages. The response came quickly, but not as they hoped. The alien ships suddenly accelerated toward them. "They're powering weapons," shouted Security Chief Paul Winters. "Raise shields," Mercer commanded. "Continue broadcasting. Make it clear we mean no harm." The first blast hit the Dauntless before their shields were fully raised. The ship shuddered violently. "Direct hit to Engine 2, reported Engineer Susan Miller over the intercom. "We're losing power fast." The alien vessels, now clearly visible with their deep red hulls covered in strange markings, circled the human ship like predators. "Why are they attacking?" "We did nothing to threaten them," Mercer said, gripping his chair as another blast rocked the ship. Lieutenant William Carter, the xenobiologist, spoke up. "Captain, based on their attack pattern, they're not trying to destroy us immediately. They might be testing our capabilities." More blasts struck the Dauntless. Fires broke out on multiple decks. The ship's automated systems fought to contain the damage, but it was a losing battle. "Lisa, send a distress signal to Earth." "Tell them everything," ordered Mercer. Lisa worked frantically at her station. "Sending now, Captain." "Including all sensor data on the alien ships." The largest of the crimson vessels moved directly in front of the Dauntless. A strange beam emanated from it, scanning the human ship from bow to stern. "They're downloading our database," shouted the science officer. Mercer made a difficult decision. "Initiate emergency purge. Authorization Mercer Delta 9. The ship's computers began deleting sensitive information about Earth's location and defenses, but it was too late. The aliens had already taken what they wanted. A final, massive blast tore through the Dauntless's core. Alarms blared throughout the dying ship. "Abandon ship," Mercer commanded. "All personnel to escape pods." In the chaos that followed, only a few crew members reached the escape pods. Most, including Captain Mercer, went down with their ship. Of the pods that launched, all but one were quickly captured by the alien vessels. Lieutenant William Carter's pod was the last to launch. He watched through the small viewport as the Dauntless exploded in a brilliant flash. Tears streamed down his face as he drifted into space. Hours later, a tractor beam pulled his pod into the largest crimson ship. The door hissed open, and Carter found himself facing tall, red-skinned aliens with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like embers. They dragged him from the pod. One of them spoke, the words somehow translating in Carter's mind. "Human, you will tell us everything about your kind." Meanwhile, Lisa's distress signal traveled through space toward Earth, carrying a warning of the danger that was coming. and the news that the Crimson Empire had found humanity. The distress signal from the U.S. Dauntless reached Earth 3 days later. In the United Earth Defense Headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains, military leaders gathered in stunned silence as they watched the final moments of humanity's first deep space vessel. Admiral Samantha Reeves stood at the back of the room, her face calm despite the chaos unfolding around her. At 52, she had silver streaks in her dark hair and eyes that had seen too many conflicts on Earth. Now, humanity faced something much worse. "They'll be coming," she said, stepping forward. "The Crimson Empire now knows where Earth is." General Howard Duncan shook his head. "We have no ships that can match what we just saw. Our best military vessels are designed for travel within our solar system." "Then we'll have to build something better," Samantha replied. And quickly. The next month passed in a blur of activity. Every shipyard on Earth and Mars worked around the clock. Civilian space vessels were fitted with hastily designed weapons systems. Experimental prototypes that had never left testing facilities were rushed into service. Samantha Reeves was given command of this makeshift fleet. Many questioned the decision. She had been sidelined for years after proposing radical new space combat tactics that military leadership considered too aggressive. "Admiral, the alien fleet has been detected at the edge of our solar system," reported Lieutenant Steve Barton. "Estimated time to Earth orbit, 4 days." Samantha studied the sensor readings. "Only 12 ships. They're not taking us seriously." She gathered her captains on the flagship, a converted mining vessel now named the Defender. The meeting room was crowded with men and women who had been civilians just weeks ago. "They expect us to be easy prey," Samantha told them. "They don't know humans yet." Her plan was bold. Instead of waiting for the Crimson Empire to reach Earth, they would meet them at Neptune's orbit. The gas giant's moons would provide cover for her smaller ships. "We can't match their technology," she explained, "but we can outthink them." The human fleet moved into position. Fear gripped the crews, but also determination. This was not just a battle for their lives, but for all of humanity. The Crimson Empire ships arrived, their red hulls gleaming against the blackness of space. They moved in a tight formation, confident in their superiority. "All ships, commence Operation Hornet's Nest," Samantha ordered. The human fleet scattered, seemingly in panic. The alien vessels pursued, breaking their formation as they chased what they thought were fleeing targets. Hidden in Neptune's rings, Earth's newest weapons platforms activated. These were simple nuclear devices fitted with improvised drive systems, not elegant, but effective. They swarmed toward the alien ships like angry hornets. On the bridge of the lead crimson ship, Commander Vexnar watched in confusion as his sensors detected hundreds of small objects approaching from all directions. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. The first wave of weapons detonated, not against the alien hulls, but in carefully calculated positions around them. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted the Crimson Empire's shields and communications. Samantha's voice came through on all channels. "All ships, attack your designated targets." For Earth, what followed was not the elegant space battle depicted in old movies. It was desperate, chaotic, and brutal. Human ships rammed alien vessels when their weapons failed. Crews in damaged ships set their reactors to overload as they crashed into enemy hulls. By the time it ended, 5 human ships remained, but all 12 Crimson Empire vessels had been destroyed or disabled. In the wreckage, Earth teams boarded the alien ships, retrieving technology and taking prisoners. The humans had won, but at great cost. On the Defender, Samantha looked at the casualty reports with a heavy heart. "They'll send more ships next time," she said quietly. "And they won't underestimate us again." Across space, the Crimson Empire received news of their defeat. Emperor Zarkoth raged at his advisors. "These humans defeated our best scout fleet. Impossible." His chief strategist bowed low. "They use tactics we have never seen, Emperor. They fight like cornered animals." Zarkoth's eyes narrowed. "Then we will send a force that can crush even the most dangerous animal." And we will call upon our Nova Empire allies. These humans must be eliminated before they become a true threat. 3 months after the battle at Neptune, Earth's leaders met in the underground facility now called the War Room. The victory had bought them time, but everyone knew it wouldn't last. "We need something bigger than retrofitted mining ships," said Admiral Samantha Reeves, pointing to the holographic display showing the captured Crimson Empire technology. "We need a true warship." The room was silent for a moment before President Maria Lopez spoke. "How long would that take?" "Too long using traditional methods," replied Chief Engineer Alan Donovan. He was a tall man with wild gray hair and hands stained with engine grease. "But I have an idea." Alan's plan was ambitious. Every nation would contribute resources, scientists, and workers. They would build the ship in orbit, using both human and captured alien technology. The Global Defense Initiative was formed with one purpose: to create humanity's first true warship. The construction site orbited Earth like a small moon. Thousands of workers lived in hastily built space stations around it. Supply ships came and went constantly, bringing materials from every corner of Earth. Alan walked through the skeletal framework of what would become the main hull. Workers in spacesuits moved around him, welding giant metal plates into place. "It's not symmetrical," noted President Lopes during her inspection tour. "Intentionally," Alan explained. "The Crimson Empire ships all follow the same design patterns. Their targeting computers are programmed for those shapes. Our ship will confuse their automated systems." The vessel grew larger each day. Unlike the sleek, uniformly colored alien ships, this human creation was a patchwork of different metals and materials. Some sections gleamed like silver, while others were dark and absorbed light. Various weapon systems protruded at seemingly random angles. 6 months into construction, the ship still had no official name. Workers simply called it the project. But that changed when Admiral Reeves brought a special visitor to the construction site. Dr. Eliza Summers led the team that had studied the Crimson Empire's weapons. "They call their main battleships world hammers in their language," she explained. "They believe it strikes fear into their enemies." Alan smiled for the first time in months. "Then we'll be their warhammer." The name stuck. From that day forward, the enormous vessel was known as the U.S. Warhammer. At the heart of the Warhammer was something no alien ship possessed: an artificial intelligence system, based on Earth's most advanced AI programs and enhanced with knowledge gained from alien computers. This system would coordinate the thousands of functions needed to run such a complex vessel. The system's creator, Dr. Nathan Price, worked day and night in a lab deep within the growing ship. "She needs a name," he told Alan one evening. "All ships have names, but their hearts need names too." "Athena," Alan suggested, "the goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare." The AI core pulsed with blue light as its systems came online. "Designation accepted," said a calm female voice. "Athena online and functioning." As the Warhammer neared completion, the search began for a crew worthy of such a vessel. 500 specialists would be needed, with one captain to lead them all. Admiral Reeves reviewed personnel files from every military and space agency on Earth. She needed someone special, someone who understood what was at stake. She found that person in Captain Olivia Martinez. Olivia had commanded a small defense ship during the Neptune battle. When her weapons failed, she had used her vessel's mining lasers to cut through an alien ship's hull. Her creativity had saved her crew and turned the tide of the battle. "The Warhammer will be ready in 1 month," Alan told the assembled leaders. "It's twice the size of any Crimson Empire vessel we've seen. Its weapons are unlike anything they've encountered." President Lopes looked up at the massive ship visible through the observation window. "Will it be enough?" Admiral Reeves followed her gaze. "It has to be." Across the galaxy, the Crimson Empire continued to gather their forces. Emperor Zarkoth had sent messages to his allies in the Nova Empire, warning them of the human threat. Together, they prepared for what they believed would be a simple extermination mission. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Captain Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Warhammer for the first time. The enormous command center hummed with activity as crew members prepared for their maiden voyage. Screens displayed star charts, weapon systems, and engine readouts. "Captain on the bridge," announced First Officer Ryan Cooper. The crew stood at attention. These men and women represented Earth's finest: scientists, engineers, tactical experts, and veteran space pilots. They had trained together for weeks, but this was the moment of truth. "At ease," Olivia said. She was 38 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that missed nothing. "Status report. All systems online, Captain," reported Ryan. "Athena has completed her final diagnostics." The AI's calm voice came through the ship's speakers. "U.S. Warhammer is operating at 98.7% efficiency, Captain Martinez. The remaining 1.3% will improve as my systems adapt during our first flight." Olivia nodded. "Our mission is simple but critical. We've received intelligence from deep space monitoring stations that human prisoners from the Dauntless are being held at a Crimson Empire outpost in the Proxima system. We're going to get them back." "It's a trap," said Security Chief Kelly Johnson. "They must know we built this ship." "Of course it's a trap," Olivia agreed, "but they don't know what this ship can do." The U.S. Warhammer departed Earth's orbit to cheers from the construction crews. The massive vessel moved with surprising grace, its unusual shape cutting through space like nothing ever seen before. "Preparing for first jump," announced Navigation Officer George Wilson. "Shadow drive powering up." This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The shadow drive was humanity's greatest technological achievement, a propulsion system based partly on captured alien tech and partly on theoretical physics that even the aliens hadn't mastered. "Execute jump," ordered Olivia. The stars outside blurred and stretched. The Warhammer shuddered slightly, then disappeared from Earth's sensors completely. It reappeared at the edge of the Proxima system, cloaked in a field that absorbed all electromagnetic radiation. To enemy sensors, the ship was invisible. "Stealth systems functioning perfectly," reported Science Officer Hannah Lee. "We're detecting 3 Crimson Empire vessels orbiting the 4th planet, and 2 Nova Empire observer ships nearby." Olivia studied the tactical display. "Looks like our intelligence was correct. The Crimson Empire invited their friends to watch how they deal with humans." The Warhammer silently approached the alien outpost. Inside a prison compound on the planet's surface, 23 human survivors from the Dauntless waited, unaware that rescue was coming. "We'll only have surprise for a few moments, once we drop the stealth field," Ryan reminded everyone. Olivia's face was determined. "That's all we'll need." Battle stations. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Weapon systems powered up. Shield generators hummed to life. "On my mark, drop stealth and fire main cannon at the largest Crimson vessel," Olivia ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The Warhammer suddenly appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, directly between the alien ships. For a brief moment, nothing happened as the enemy vessels registered the massive human warship that had materialized in their midst. "Fire," said Olivia calmly. The Warhammer's main weapon was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It created a controlled gravitational singularity that lanced out toward the largest Crimson Empire ship. The beam cut through the alien vessel's shields as if they weren't there, slicing the ship in half. The other alien ships opened fire immediately. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes struck the Warhammer from all sides. "Shields holding at 92%, reported Defensive Systems Officer Ben Rivera. "Their weapons are barely making a dent." On the Nova Empire observer ships, alien commanders watched in horror. One turned to the other. "What is that thing?" it asked in its own clicking language. "A nightmare," replied the other. The Warhammer's secondary weapons opened fire, disabling but not destroying the remaining Crimson ships. Meanwhile, a shuttle launched from the human vessel's bay, heading toward the surface. Lieutenant William Carter sat in his cell, growing thinner each day under harsh alien imprisonment. He heard explosions outside. Then the cell door slid open. A human in combat armor stood there. "Lieutenant Carter, Captain Martinez sends her regards. Time to go home." As the rescue team evacuated the prisoners, the Warhammer continued to absorb punishment from reinforcement ships that had arrived. But the human vessel seemed impervious to damage. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the U.S. Warhammer vanished again, activating its shadow drive and disappearing from all enemy sensors. The legend of the human warship had begun. Word of the human warship spread quickly across the stars. In bars and meeting halls on 100 alien worlds, stories were told of the massive black vessel that appeared from nowhere, shrugged off the strongest weapons, and vanished like a ghost. On the Crimson Empire's capital world, Emperor Zarkoth summoned his war council. "Tell me about this human ship," he demanded, his 4 arms gesturing angrily. Admiral Drekful's skin paled to a lighter shade of red. "The reports are troubling, Emperor. The vessel is twice the size of our largest battleship. It absorbs energy weapons and seems to ignore our shields completely." "And it can appear anywhere?" asked the Emperor. "Yes. Our scientists believe it uses some form of dimensional folding technology. We theorized such travel was possible, but never achieved it." From the shadows stepped a Nova Empire representative, his blue-scaled skin glistening in the dim light. "The humans are more dangerous than we anticipated." Aboard the U.S. Warhammer, Lieutenant William Carter was recovering in the medical bay. Captain Martinez visited him daily, eager for information about the enemy. "They were so confident," Carter told her. "They kept saying humans were primitive and wouldn't last a standard cycle." "What else did you learn during your captivity?" Olivia asked. Carter's eyes darkened. "They have hundreds of worlds under their control. Most were conquered just like they planned to conquer Earth, and the Crimson Empire isn't even the largest power out here. They have an alliance with the Nova Empire, which is even bigger." Science Officer Hannah Lee entered with a datapad. "Lieutenant Carter's information matches what we found in the captured ship's databases. But there's something else you need to see, Captain." Hannah displayed star charts showing territories controlled by both empires. They've been harvesting resources from worlds with pre-spaceflight civilizations, thousands of species who can't defend themselves. Olivia's expression hardened. "That violates everything we believe about interspecies contact." "It gets worse," Hannah continued. "Some of these civilizations have been completely wiped out when they resisted." The bridge was silent as this information sank in. Humanity wasn't just fighting for Earth now, but for a principle that developing civilizations deserved the chance to grow without interference or exploitation. Meanwhile, across both empires, unusual reports began coming in. Subject worlds that had been quiet for generations suddenly experienced uprisings. Supply ships disappeared. Military outposts reported seeing a massive black ship moments before communications went dead. The U.S. Warhammer was on the move, but not randomly. Each target was carefully selected by Captain Martinez and her strategic team. They weren't trying to win the war through destruction, but through disruption. "Fear is spreading through their empire faster than we could ever travel," explained Tactical Officer Pete Morgan during a briefing. "Some worlds are surrendering to us without us ever going there." Lieutenant Carter, now recovered and serving as an advisor on alien psychology, nodded. "The Crimson Empire maintains control through fear and technology. When their subjects see that their technology can be defeated, the fear starts to work against them." Back on Earth, Admiral Reeves received regular encrypted transmissions from the Warhammer. She shared the good news with world leaders, but privately worried. The Warhammer was just one ship, and Earth had only managed to build 3 more vessels using the same technology. Against 2 galactic empires, it wasn't enough. "We need allies," she told President Lopes. "And the Warhammer might be finding them for us." Indeed, Captain Martinez had begun making contact with resistance leaders on various subjugated worlds. Species that had been conquered centuries ago saw the human ship as a sign of hope. The Warhammer isn't powered by some magical technology, Olivia told a gathering of alien resistance fighters during a secret meeting. It's powered by human determination. We refuse to be conquered. We refuse to let others be conquered. A tall, insect-like being clicked its mandibles. For generations, we believed resistance was futile. Your ship has proven otherwise. As the meeting concluded, alarms suddenly blared throughout the Warhammer. Captain to the bridge immediately, came First Officer Ryan's urgent voice over the comm. We've detected a combined Crimson and Nova fleet. Over 200 ships. And they're heading straight for us. Captain Olivia Martinez raced to the bridge of the U.S. Warhammer. The massive view screen showed hundreds of enemy ships appearing from hyperspace, their weapons already powering up. Shadow drive status, she demanded. Offline for another 30 minutes, replied Navigation Officer George Wilson. We're still recharging after our last jump. First Officer Ryan Cooper looked grim. They've found a way to track us. This isn't random. Olivia made a quick decision. All power to forward shields. Ready main cannon. The Warhammer turned to face the oncoming fleet. Its unusual shape cast a strange shadow against the nearby sun. We can't fight them all, said Tactical Officer Pete Morgan. We don't need to, Olivia replied. We just need to make them think twice, target their flagship and fire when ready. The Warhammer's main cannon powered up, creating a small gravitational singularity that shot toward the largest Crimson Empire vessel. It struck with devastating force, tearing the ship apart. But this time, the enemy was prepared. The rest of the fleet scattered in a practiced maneuver, making it harder for the Warhammer to target them. Multiple hits incoming, shouted Defensive Systems Officer Ben Rivera. The ship shook as dozens of enemy weapons struck its shields. Unlike before, these weapons seemed designed specifically to combat the Warhammer's defenses. Shields at 60% and dropping, Ben reported. They've adapted their weapons. In the medical bay, Lieutenant Carter felt the ship rock under enemy fire. He rushed to a communication panel. Bridge, this is Carter. Their attack pattern. I've seen it before. It's called the Serpent's Fang. They're trying to surround us. Olivia nodded. Thank you, Lieutenant. Helm, full speed ahead. We're going to punch right through their center. The Warhammer surged forward, its secondary weapons firing continuously. 3 more enemy ships exploded, creating a gap in their formation. But for every ship the Warhammer destroyed, 10 more took its place. Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the Nova Empire flagship, reported Communications Officer Laura Baker. They're requesting to speak with you. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Put it through. The view screen shifted to show a tall, blue-scaled alien with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Human Captain, I am Supreme Commander Zithvar of the Nova Empire. We wish to discuss terms. Terms? Olivia asked cautiously. A meeting. Neutral ground. To discuss a potential arrangement between our civilizations. The bridge crew exchanged glances. This was unexpected. Very well, Olivia agreed. Send coordinates for a meeting point. I will bring a small team. After the transmission ended, Ryan approached her. Captain, this is clearly a trap. Of course it is, Olivia said. But we need time for the shadow drive to recharge, and we might learn something useful. The coordinates led to a small, uninhabited moon. Olivia took a shuttle down with a security team and diplomatic officer Grace Wilson, an expert in cross-cultural communication. The Nova Empire representatives waited in a temporary structure they had erected. Supreme Commander Zithvar greeted them with a formal bow. We have observed your ship's capabilities, he said. The Nova Empire respects strength. Perhaps we have been hasty in our alliance with the Crimson Empire against you. Grace studied the alien's body language. Something wasn't right. What exactly are you proposing? Olivia asked. The Nova Empire would consider a non-aggression pact with humans. In exchange, you will cease your attacks on our installations and stop encouraging rebellions on our worlds. As Zithvar spoke, Grace noticed movement outside the structure. She discreetly activated her scanner. It showed dozens of Nova soldiers moving into position around them. "Captain," Grace whispered, "they're surrounding us." Olivia maintained a calm expression. "Commander Zithvar, did you really think we would come unprepared?" She tapped her communication device. Suddenly, the Warhammer appeared in the sky above them, having recharged its shadow drive just enough for a short jump. Zithvar's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. Our fleet has your ship surrounded." "Your fleet has a decoy surrounded," Olivia replied. "We left a little surprise for them." Aboard the Warhammer, the crew watched as their holographic decoy continued to fight the enemy fleet, drawing more and more ships into the battle. "Shadow drive fully recharged, Captain," reported George over the comm. "Ready when you are." "Beam us up," Olivia ordered. "It seems diplomatic relations have failed." As they returned to the Warhammer, Olivia knew the war had entered a new phase. Both empires were now fully committed to destroying the human threat, and they would stop at nothing to achieve that goal. 3 months after the failed peace talks, the U.S. Warhammer limped through space. Battle damage marked its once pristine hull. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to repair systems that had been pushed beyond their limits. "Engineering to bridge," came Engineer Daniel Clark's tired voice over the comm. "I've got the port shield generators back online, but they're only at 40% capacity." Captain Olivia Martinez nodded. "Good work, Daniel. Every bit helps." The situation had grown dire. While the Warhammer had continued to strike at both empires and liberate oppressed worlds, the aliens had adapted. Their weapons now caused more damage to the human vessel, and they had developed countermeasures against the shadow drive, making it harder for the Warhammer to escape. First Officer Ryan Cooper studied the tactical display. "The latest intelligence from our allies shows both empires withdrawing forces from their borders. They're gathering at the Three Suns system." "How many ships?" Olivia asked. "Over 1,000, Ryan replied grimly. "The largest combined fleet ever assembled." Olivia stared at the star map. The Three Suns system was strategically important, containing rare resources and sitting at the junction of several hyperspace lanes. Whoever controlled it dominated that sector of the galaxy. "They're making their stand there," she said, "and they're expecting us to come to them." Lieutenant William Carter, now fully recovered and serving as alien intelligence specialist, spoke up. "It's more than that, Captain. According to our sources, they're planning to use the Three Suns as a staging area for a direct assault on Earth." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Despite all the Warhammer had accomplished, Earth remained vulnerable. The 3 additional warships humanity had built were powerful, but nowhere near enough to stop a fleet of 1,000 alien vessels. "We need to contact Earth," Olivia decided, "and all our allies." Over the next 2 weeks, messages flashed across space. The Warhammer had made many friends during its campaign. Species that had been oppressed for generations saw the human ship as a symbol of hope and freedom. Now, Olivia called on them all. On Earth, Admiral Samantha Reeves received the Warhammer's message. She immediately gathered world leaders. "Captain Martinez is right," she told them. "We can't win this alone. We need to commit everything we have." President Lopes looked troubled. "You're talking about sending our entire defense fleet. If we lose, Earth will be defenseless. If we don't stop them at the Three Suns, they'll be at our doorstep anyway," Samantha replied. "Better to fight alongside allies than alone." The decision was made. Earth would send its 3 new warships, the Defender, the Guardian, and the Sentinel, along with every combat-capable vessel they could muster. Meanwhile, Engineer Daniel Clark worked day and night in the Warhammer's drive chamber. The shadow drive had been damaged in their last battle, but Daniel had an idea. "If we modify the drive coils," he explained to Captain Martinez, "we can create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It won't destroy their ships, but it could disable their systems temporarily." "For how long?" Olivia asked. "Minutes at most. and we'd have to be in the center of their fleet for maximum effect. Olivia considered this. Can the Warhammer survive that? Daniel hesitated. Honestly, Captain, I don't know. As the day of battle approached, ships began arriving at the rendezvous point near the Three Suns system. The Warhammer was joined by vessels of all shapes and sizes. Some were advanced warships built by species with longer space histories than humans. Others were simple vessels piloted by beings who had only recently broken free from Imperial control. The Earth fleet arrived last, led by Admiral Reeves aboard the U.S. Defender. She opened a channel to all Allied ships. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for the freedom of all species to develop without tyranny. The Crimson and Nova empires believe their superior numbers guarantee victory. But they have never faced a coalition like ours. Beings from 100 worlds united by a common cause. Captain Martinez added her own message. Remember, it's not the size of our fleet that matters, but the strength of our resolve. The empires fight because they are ordered to. We fight because we choose to. As the Allied fleet moved toward the Three Suns, their sensors detected the massive Imperial armada waiting for them. The greatest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Battle of Three Suns began with a flash of light as thousands of weapons fired simultaneously. The Coalition fleet, though outnumbered 3-1, fought with a determination that surprised the Imperial forces. On the bridge of the U.S. Warhammer, Captain Olivia Martinez watched the battle unfold on the tactical display. "Status report," she ordered calmly. "Our allies are holding their own, but taking heavy losses," replied Tactical Officer Pete Morgan. "The Earth ships are drawing most of the enemy fire." Indeed, the Defender, Guardian, and Sentinel were at the front of the battle, their advanced weapons tearing through Imperial ships. But for each enemy vessel destroyed, 2 more took its place. "We need to implement Daniel's plan now," Olivia decided. "All hands, prepare for Operation Thunderclap." Throughout the ship, crew members secured equipment and braced for what was coming. In engineering, Daniel Clark made final adjustments to the modified Shadow drive. "The drive wasn't designed for this," he told his team. "We'll only get one shot." The Warhammer suddenly accelerated, plunging toward the heart of the Imperial fleet. Enemy ships tried to intercept it, but Allied vessels moved to protect the human warship. "They know what we're trying to do," First Officer Ryan Cooper observed. Olivia nodded. "Open a channel to Admiral Reeves." Samantha's face appeared on screen, her bridge filled with smoke and flashing emergency lights. "We'll give you the opening you need, Captain. Make it count." The Earth ships coordinated a massive strike, creating a path for the Warhammer to reach the center of the enemy formation. As they did, several Allied vessels were destroyed, their crews sacrificing themselves for the mission. "We're in position," announced Navigation Officer George Wilson. "All enemy flagships within range." Olivia took a deep breath. "Daniel, initiate the pulse." In engineering, Daniel activated the modified drive. Energy built up rapidly, surging through systems never designed to handle such power. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "Pulse ready," Daniel reported, his voice strained. "But Captain, the drive system is going critical. We won't be able to jump out after this." Olivia's expression remained resolute. "Understood. Execute now." A massive wave of electromagnetic energy burst from the Warhammer, expanding outward in all directions. As it hit the Imperial ships, their systems failed. Weapons went offline. Shields collapsed. Engines died. But the Warhammer paid a heavy price. Explosions rocked the ship as power surges destroyed critical systems. The bridge lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency lighting. "Damage report," Olivia called out. "Main power offline. Weapons offline. Propulsion offline," reported Ben Rivera. "We're dead in space, Captain." For several precious minutes, the Imperial fleet drifted helplessly. The Coalition forces seized the opportunity, destroying dozens of defenseless enemy vessels. As the pulse's effects began to fade, Olivia knew they had one last card to play. Communications, are we still broadcasting? Laura Baker nodded. Emergency systems are still working. We can transmit. Put me through to all channels, Olivia ordered. All frequencies, all languages. With the Warhammer crippled and surrounded by recovering enemy ships, Olivia sent her message throughout the galaxy. Attention all worlds under Crimson and Nova control. This is Captain Olivia Martinez of Earth. You've heard stories of our ship. Today, I tell you they're all true. Humanity refused to be conquered, and you can do the same. Your rulers claim their power is absolute, but today we proved otherwise. Rise up. Claim your freedom. We will stand with you. As Imperial weapons locked onto the defenseless Warhammer, something unexpected happened. Ships from the Imperial fleet began breaking formation, turning their weapons on their former allies. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from within the enemy fleet, Laura reported with amazement. Multiple ships are declaring independence from both empires. The revolution spread like wildfire. Across hundreds of worlds, beings who had watched the battle through Imperial broadcasts rose up against their oppressors. The empires, already committing all their forces to the battle, could not respond. Admiral Reeves's voice came through on the emergency channel. Hold on, Warhammer. We're coming to get you. 3 months later, Olivia stood with her crew as the damaged Warhammer was towed back to Earth. Though scared and broken, the ship had achieved something remarkable. Over 70% of both empires had declared independence, forming a new galactic council where all species had equal voice. What happens to the Warhammer now? Asked Lieutenant Carter, standing beside her. Olivia smiled as she watched repair crews swarming over the massive vessel. She'll be rebuilt, not as a weapon, but as a symbol. A reminder that when faced with tyranny, we chose to fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Years later, cadets at the Earth Space Academy would study the Warhammer's journey and learn its most important lesson. Humanity's greatest strength was never its technology, but its willingness to stand up for what was right, even against impossible odds.